Well. Alright then. Shall we be off? The artillery. Tataru? First to arrive, as always. Hopefully the others will not be far behind.
Ah, there you are. All packed and ready to go?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. Apologies for the wait. The task of tying up loose ends invariably takes longer than one allows. Happily, however, all now seems to be in order.
Then there's nothing left to do but to board the ship. Do try and enjoy the journey, won't you? It may be your last chance to rest for a while.
That would depend on the good captain's choice of route.
As ever, Tataru, I pray you take all due precautions while making your inquiries. Better to avoid the local authorities altogether than risk a repeat of our Ishgardian episode.
And what sordid episode is this, pray tell?
Naught to speak of, I assure you.
You there! Hold that ship!
What are you two doing here? Shouldn't you be in Doma?
Shouldn't you? You left with nary a word. I half wondered if I had done something to offend.
Upon learning that you had departed for Kugane, we immediately resolved to give chase. Our comrades can manage affairs in our absence, and it seemed the least we could do.
You mean you came all this way just to say goodbye?
That too, aye. But there was something else I felt I had to say. You helped us win our freedom, and for that I cannot thank you enough. Accordingly, after we have established an interim government and so forth, I think it only meet that we repay the favor by dispatching our own forces to Eorzea. If you would have us.
We harbored no expectations of such generous aid, and as there is no telling when the Empire might strike back at you, would it not be wiser to concentrate your resources on the defense of Doma?
I had a mind to pursue a more aggressive defense, to which we will send forth shinobi to provinces far and wide to spread word of our victory, that we might inspire others to take up arms as we did. Even the Empire has its limits. If the Garleans cannot be certain where and when the next rebellion will take place, how can they commit another force to Doma? And besides, so long as this debt remains unpaid, how am I to face myself? And Gorsetzer.
As you wish. I will relay your offer to the Eorzean Alliance.
All of Doma is counting on you to finish what we have started. You have it in you, Lys. To seize the future you want. Never forget.
I won't, Hien. Not your words or anything else. Everything that led us here, that will drive us forward, I'll carry it with me always. And that's a promise.
I will hold you to that. Go with them to Eorzea. Tell their people of our triumph and of our pledge to stand with them.
By your leave, I shall pave the way for our new alliance.
Hurry up, you lot! The ship's about to weigh anchor!
It seems our time is at an end. Go well, my friends, and may we meet again beneath a western sky.
Meanwhile, in the royal palace of Alamigo.
I always knew that woman was unfit for command.
Aye, when you think of all the resources we've poured into that hole, and for what?
The beast yet lives. Mayhap it is time I sharpen my claws. I wonder, will you walk into my parlor once more?
For Dolorem Lupus, come at the command of the Lord Viceroy to present the prisoner taken by the Cranie Lupi.
ZENOS ye Galvus, I presume. It's true what they say. You do have the eyes of a monster. A ravenous, insatiable fiend.
You, give the butcher your weapon.
Yes, my lord.
My lord, this is...
A reward given in recognition of your service. I trust it will prove more capable than its former owner.
I swear, I'll not disappoint you, my lord.
Good. Now, silence that mewling little piglet. I will not hear another sound pass her lips. Until I strip the fat from her.
Back in Eorzea at least. At last. Ready to pick up where we left off and finish the fight. We're not who we were when we left, but stronger and wiser. So let's do it. Let's get back to Alamigo and defeat ZENOS once and for all. Here we are, home at last. I must say the journey passed more quickly than I had expected. That would be due to the absence of otherworldly interference, I expect. I should be glad if you do not speak of that unpleasantness again. But in spite of all of that and more, we return better for the experience, and more importantly, triumphant. Indeed, and with Doma freed from Imperial oppression, it is only right that we turn our thoughts to the plight of Alamigo. Well, I'm all for that, obviously, but I think you should go and see the refugees at Revenant's Toll before doing anything else. They'll be thrilled to hear what we've accomplished, and it sounds best coming from you. Thank you, Yugiri. Thank you myself. Thank you. I shall do as you suggest. I see I am not too late. Admiral, what are you doing here? The East Aldenard Trading Company informed me of your impending arrival. I have tidings I thought best to share with you in person. From Kiribania? Aye, the Alliance still holds the wall, despite several Imperial counterattacks, but we have been unable to press further into occupied territory. Commander Kemp and his men, meanwhile, have made great strides towards rebuilding their depleted ranks. They've even taken it upon themselves to attempt some new operations with mixed results, I'm sorry to say. 'Twas a complication arising from one such venture which moved me to seek you out. During a mission to transport wounded resistance fighters to the Rising Stones, KRILE Baldessian was taken prisoner. KRILE? Do you know where she's being held? They do not. But your comrades were informed at once, and I am told Thancred is in Girabania looking for her as we speak. How could this have happened? We must seek out Thancred without delay. Nay, KRILE taught me better than that. It would be unwise to act without first acquiring a full understanding of the situation. Thank you for informing us. Though tired though we may be, we must make haste to Castamorians. Pray excuse us, Admiral, Lady Ygritte. While you were away, all your friends were getting massacred. Now we have another blue quest over here, do we? The Hidden Truth. Oh, it's a blue quest. Another blue quest, eh? Huh. Yes. It is I. Griffin atop Baldessian, yes. Well, you know, I need to rescue friends who've been kidnapped. She's looking for Alamegan prisoners, I think. What I very briefly gathered. Ah, 20 years ago. Settlement to the south, huh? Sounds good. Thancred. There you are. Have you heard the news? In broad strokes from Admiral Blofswin, what happened? KRILE and a squadron of resistance fighters were escorting Ishtola and several other wounded to the Rising Stones for further treatment when they were ambushed by Imperial forces. Arvenald and his men fought valiantly, but in the chaos... I will make no excuses. We failed to protect her. Do not be so hard on yourself. You protected Ishtola and the others, did you not? Tell us about the attack. It was the skulls. They knew a path across the wall we hadn't found. We thought we were safe once we reached the Black Shroud. We weren't expecting an ambush. During the fighting, I caught a glimpse of their leader's memories. It was all planned. The advantage of having a Welka in the field. I'm not as strong in the echo as Fen is, of course. Half the time it's hard enough to knock me on my... half the time it's enough to knock me on my arse. Like I've taken a dose of concentrated ether. So, you walked into... Fordolia's memories. What did you see? A woman promised the world education, training, citizenship. All that and more she but sold her soul, a traitor to her people, a pretender to her masters. It was ZENOS himself that gave the order, told her to return with KRILE Baldesion, alive. Our agents have been carefully monitoring Imperial communications since the attack, but have yet to intercept any transmission making reference to KRILE or her current whereabouts. If their orders were to bring KRILE back alive, we can save her if we move quickly enough. As you say, time is of the essence, which is why I intend to slip past enemy lines and see what information I can cover on my own. In the meantime, it's up to you and our allies to command the Imperial's undivided attention. Lots of shouting and explosions and so forth. Keep them distracted and I will find her. I will find her! Very well. I wish I could do more to aid you, but I understand. Commander Kemp is on his way to the castrum as we speak for a meeting with General Aldin. If you hurry, you could find him on the road and discuss the situation beforehand. I think Fen and I are going to go see Comrade like he suggested. You all wait here. She's just like, yep, we're going to go talk to him. Alright, Fen, come on. Come on! It's like, what am I, a dog? Got treats? Okay, let's go talk to him. Got Warrior of Light treats. Even coming there with a little wrapper. Well, well. This isn't this a pleasant surprise? Fills my heart with joy to see you two hale and healthy. Welcome home, Lise, Fen. I'm sure you've heard about KRILE by now. That's why we're here. Not sure to think about it, but we'll save her. We'll definitely save her somehow. I have no doubt that you will. You look stronger for your time in the Far East, lass. That's a good news for KRILE. I'd like to think so, but... Enough about me. How's everything with you and the Resistance? Better than when you last saw us, and no mistake. Arvinald's been a godsend. Him and Minago, and all the other young bloods have achieved so much in so short a time. We've been blessed to receive the support of the Flames Alamegan Brigade, who have been instrumental in freeing our countrymen from labor camps throughout Girabania, as well as some political prisoners from the city proper. And believe it or not, together with the refugees returning to Ul'dah and elsewhere, we've had no shortage of able-bodied men and women eager to join our cause. I knew you wouldn't stop fighting, even after what happened at the Reach. Force of habit, I suppose. Though, we've come a long way, and we still have far to go. But we'll fight with every ilm. We'll fight for every ilm, and sooner or later we'll get to Alamigo. Listen to me prattling on when we should be making haste to Castromorians. There's no point in you telling me everything now when you'll only have to say it again for the Flame General's benefit. You're right. I'll go on ahead and tell the others that you're not far off. Yeah, the good part about doing these playthroughs and just voice acting everything is that it is nice in a way, because so I have this fun thing called surface dyslexia. So that means is the part of your brain that is responsible for speech and reading is actually in the back of your brain. And as far as I can remember, I've had what's called surface dyslexia. This is a form of dyslexia, and really it just means that I read slower than usual. And you can, I mean, what it means from like a psychological explanation and neuroscientific explanation is that, at least in part, reading has to be filtered through a different part of my brain, which is less effective at it. And as a result, that means that reading is just slower. So despite being like hyper literate effectively compared to average, which is in America, the average reading level is like a 7th grade level. And I read far, 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 far above that. But usually when people get to that level, they're able to just read lightning fast comparatively. Like, there are things like the Harvard method to speed read, but overall I don't do that often. The real interesting thing that happens is, instead, because it's having to go through a different part of my brain, I kind of have like RAM, if you will. Those of you who know computers, I mean, most people know what RAM is these days. Random access memory, it's what your computer uses. It's the fast stuff that your computer uses to store information and temporarily when it's being processed. So my brain has a certain amount of RAM, and I can speed read a lot, like very quickly. But when that fills up, I can't really speed read anymore, and if I'm trying to speed read, it just won't work. It's really annoying. And my brain will just sort of struggle to keep going, and I have to basically stop and go do something else, like take a quick break, while my brain just clears out the RAM, if you will. Clears out that queue. But the thing is, I'm understanding what's there. It's not like I speed read and then lose it. As I speed read, I am keeping it. Anyway, yeah. It's just interesting. Okay. Anyway, the point was, doing this is making it a lot easier, and I think it's increasing that RAM size, but I'm not sure. You've spoken with Thancred, then? Good. Take heart. If anyone can track her down, it's him. I believe I hear Commander Kemp's party approaching. If you're ready to address Father and the others, let us be about it. Alright, we're all born. What you got, friendo? There you are. And there is Commander Kemp, I see. I know that you are eager to speak of our next move, but we would first hear more of your tale. Tell us of your deeds in Doma.
Pray, join me in welcoming our Scion allies, but recently returned from their mission to the Far East. We have been most eager to hear a first-hand account of your time there, eventful as we understand it was.
Very well. Allow me.
And then we killed the bitch.
Such victories are rarely won without sacrifice, but the prize is worth the price. Doma, free after all these years.
Bloody hells. Flooding their own castle for a better chance at victory. We could learn a thing or two from that lad.
Our agents report a flurry of communications between Garlemald and Alamigo in recent days. 'Tis plain they are in the midst of deliberating their response to the Doman uprising.
Good. Every Imperial unit in occupied territory will be on the lookout for civil unrest. The fear of leaving critical locations undefended will make commanders think twice about committing their forces, giving us a chance to seize the initiative.
We have a chance, aye. Mayhap the last one we're ever going to get. While we've done our best to rebuild the resistance, the Imperials have only increased their efforts to root out sympathizers. If we keep on playing for smaller prizes, it's only a matter of time before they crush us again. And that we won't come back from.
A swift advance seems best for all concerned, not least poor Mistress KRILE.
Then let us waste no more time. The campaign for Alamigan liberation begins now. Our first objective will be to capture Castellum Valadina. Take the bridge, and the whole of the fringes will be ours. From there, we can push east towards the peaks. I name this operation Rulga's Beacon. For as Rulga once sent his star to guide our ancestors to these lands, so too shall it see us home.
Nice. The success of this operation is paramount. So long as the Empire holds Castellum Valodnia, the main host cannot advance. ZENOS knows this, which is why he has ordered Fardola and her men to see to the bridge's defense. So, we get to fight the Skulls again. The Butcher is not to be underestimated. She is decisive, ruthless, and feared by foes and friends alike. But we have a plan to defeat her. First, we send an alliance force down to the main road, signaling our intention to mount an all-out assault. The garrison will muster their forces and prepare for a protracted battle. However, they will soon find that we are ill-prepared for their counterattack. Our men will begin to break ranks and flee. I see. Show them our backs and give them a target too tempting to not pursue. Aye. Fardola is too aggressive not to press the advantage. She will order her men to give chase. We lure them as far back as the East End, where the commanders will rally their forces and attempt to hold their ground. If all goes according to plan, we should be able to keep the greater part of the garrison occupied, leaving us to tackle the bridge's remaining defenders. Very clever, I'm sure. But what are we to do if the Imperials smell a rat and return before we've taken the place? I don't need you to take Valodnia, Commander Kemp. All I need you to do is fly your flag from its tower. You mean to trick them into believing that the bridge has fallen? Aye. We convince them that Valodnia is lost, hit them hard with our reinforcements, and watch them go running for the hills. Then, when the dust has settled, we regroup at the Castellum. What do you say? It's a bold plan, but a good one. We'll do it. Hell yeah. In that case, we shall support both the Resistance and the Alliance forces. Fen, Lys, Alvenald, I would ask that you accompany Commander Kemp. Alisei and I will remain with the Flame General. We will return to Ralga's Reach and make our preparations. As soon as they are complete, we will join you on the field. Godspeed. Yes, Ralga's speed. Alright, let's go kill some people. So what they're doing is essentially a feigned retreat. Convince the enemy that you are weak so that they pursue you, much to their detriment. And then you hit them, usually in some sort of ambush. Works pretty well against people who are too aggressive. So what you see if you study Caesar at all is that, or if you watch his, if you watch stuff like History March and learn about how Caesar fought, there's a huge portion of what made Caesar successful was being able to restrain his men from pursuing the enemy. In medieval warfare, there was this really interesting, so like actual medieval warfare looked nothing like Hollywood whatsoever. Let me explain. So Hollywood is designed to look really dramatic. That's what they care about. And so what you have is you have these two formations of groups that will march toward each other, and then, like, at the last second, for some reason, their IQ drops by like 100 points, and they just charge each other, and, past each other into each other's lines, and these two columns become just one big mass. That's basically like, within itself. And it doesn't make any sense. And it's supposed to look really chaotic, so you can have your main character be surrounded by people who's like, right? So, I think Braveheart, stuff like that. It looks really chaotic, looks really dramatic, but it's basically, at that point, you just have two forces that have zero cohesion that are just flailing at each other. It doesn't make any sense. But what's even better is whenever it's like, you see a bunch of pikemen, and it's like a pike formation only works when it has high cohesion. So what is cohesion? That's just the measure of how well everything is working together. So you would typically in medieval warfare take, a group that is, say, 100 by 5 deep, something like that, 80 by whatever, basically just a rectangle of people. And they'd all be pointing their weapons one way, and they'd start marching forward. And so, believe it or not, so long as they don't lose cohesion and fall apart, they're actually really dangerous. In medieval warfare, the side that lost was the side that lost cohesion first. An example, so if you have a bunch of people, let's say you have a lot of sword infantry, sort of like the Vikings did back in the day. Well, if you can lock your shields together, because with wooden shields, those big round ones that they used to use, you can sort of lock those together in what's called a shield wall. And they also had a bunch of spears and a bunch of just broadswords. So, or Viking swords, whatever people want to call them. And so in formation, they'd actually want to pull out their spears, lock their shields together, and then stab over the spears, or if they lose their spear, stab over it with their sword. And so what this does, keep in mind, they also tended to wear pretty decent, like, armor on their upper body and their helmet. And most people are like this, not going under the shield. You could, but it was kind of less useful. You couldn't really see where you were stabbing, but it could still be good. So if you take these two blocks and you have them sort of like march together and then they kind of just do that. They kind of come together for a little bit. And then they slowly start taking losses on either side, as people are stabbing and slashing and hacking over their shields. Usually it was one of these sides got flanked, or the people on the side of you sort of got pushed back. So you have your formation, and then you have the formations on the sides of you, and those formations on the sides might have gotten pushed back enough to where now people on the edges of your formation need to start fighting both the formation you're pressed up against, you're stuck in with, if you will, and also the other formations as they're starting to flank and attack them. And a shield wall is really only great in one direction. There are other things that you can do, like there's a square formation that you can also do that can kind of protect you against getting attacked on both sides, on all four sides, but you'd much rather just be in a simple shield wall that's facing one direction and only having to fight in one direction. So shield walls are really powerful back in the day. Now, we've all heard about halberds, right? Well, halberds you would also use in a similar formation. They were really great. They could hack things, they could stab things. Halberd had the axe head on one side to take care of lightly armored infantry. It had the spear, it had the pick on the other side, usually opposite the axe, the pick or the hammer. I think it was the picks for halberds. And that was used to quite literally slam through armor into someone. And now your halberd is basically stuck into their body. Hopefully killing them. But if not, then, hey, you literally have them attached to your halberd now. You control where they're going, and the people inside of you probably just go straight for their head with those spikes. You also have spears. The top of the halberd was a spearhead, if I remember correctly. And you could use that to stab people. It was really useful. And then pikes came along. And a pike is like, what, 3, 4, or 5 feet longer than a halberd? And so it was just a range advantage. Because remember, you have two slowly moving formations. If one's able to start killing the other one before the other one can get within range to do anything, it kind of creates a problem. That's why Alexander the Great was so powerful with his much longer spears than his competitors. So, yeah, it was okay. But, yeah, you would typically, if you were going to use a feigned retreat, you would have people come up, you'd start attacking, and then when the enemy force started to commit to a fighting you, you would typically flee. You'd usually attack with light infantry, and then you'd flee and try to pull them out, sort of like the Zulus used to do. Zulu tactics was, I think it was the bull and the horns is what they called it. So essentially you would have the head of the attack, which was the main host, and they would attack to get the attention of whoever it was what they were fighting, while the two horns, if you will, stayed in reserve. And so the main host would attack, and then they'd run off to try and lure the enemy to advance on them. When the enemy did, the horns would come in and basically flank them from either sides and sort of stick everybody in. An important thing to remember about a lot of that kind of warfare is that you typically, with more tribal warfare, you don't want to eliminate the entire opposing force. You actually want to give them the opportunity to run away. So you would typically be attacking them from, say, 3 sides, but leave the 4th open so they can rout. The reason for that was that, one, it costs you less people, because when people are cornered, they tend to fight to the bitter end, if they can. And the other point that's so useful about it is when people run away, they're more likely to return to where they came from and talk about how horrible that fight was and how it was a complete slaughter and just demoralize the people, for support of a war. This leads us into a different thing that's even more interesting. So wars typically have to be popular to be successful. If they aren't popular, then they tend to start to fail. So the biggest way to see this, without going into current events, somewhere in Europe, is when you have, if you have like 80%, you want to have somewhere between 100 and like 90% support for a war, if possible. Because that means the people who are against it aren't really going to be all that capable of stopping you. But once you get to like below 80%, it starts getting harder. Because the opposition to any kind of offensive is getting louder and louder. By the time you get to 50%, it's almost completely unsustainable. If not actually completely unsustainable at this point. You're having to force people to come in, like the people who actually want to go to war are mostly dead, or they've seen enough, or they've already sent their, people on their side who qualify out to the war, and it starts to get really difficult to keep it going. There's also the point that unless you're in a dictatorship at that point, it's incredibly difficult to be able to continue having political support for any kind of war. If you are part of a dictatorship, those people who are against the war are better known as rebels. Because they will 100% go and start blowing your stuff up and setting stuff on fire. So there's this country, we'll say that there's, if we look at, say, a country called U, if you will, and the country of U is, it shares a northern border with the country of B, and then an eastern border with the country of R. Well, Country B, in this situation, let's just say that it has a support for going to war with Country U on Country R's behalf of around, what was it, like 2%? So, at that point, if Country B went to war with Country U, they would effectively suffer massive rebellions to the point that they might not even survive. Like the ruling regime of that fictional country that we're talking about may not continue to exist. So yeah, once support for a war gets low enough, you absolutely 100% have to stop the war. Otherwise, you'll suffer uprisings and rebellions and just political unrest that is completely unsustainable and could also just lead to people deciding to assassinate the people who are supporting the war. So yeah, it's a thing. But cohesion on the battlefield and cohesion on in a political sense. Conrad, what you got? How's it going, dude? In case you haven't noticed, the flag flying above Bologna is bloody massive. It'll take a dozen men to change it, and far too long besides. But there is no need for all that, right, Monago? Not so long as I have my griffin and a satchel for grammar prisms, no. Albanold, you're in charge of the runners between us and the Alliance. No link pairs. Lise, I want you to look in on the squadrons and make sure they've got everything they need. Everybody clear? Aye, sir. All the forces are to depart for Castrum Corvi when ready. That will be all. Fen, stay with me a moment if you would. There's a few men I'd like you to look in on personally. Each of them has lost people, and I can tell that weighs on their hearts. There have been a lot of new faces since you were last here, so it's best if I tell you where to look. There's an officer you'll find in the barber. Another, an older fellow, who likes to pass time on the shore of the Starfall. The last is a fiery young lad from Little Alamigo, who I'm told trains by himself by the river on to the fringes. You'll know them when you see them. Come and find me when you've finished. Alright, well, time to go talk to Bibbidi Bobbidi and Boobidi. So one's in the barber. Another's over by the peaks. Right. Let's go. Let's go and run it 1 mile per century. Little Alamigan officer. Wait, I know you. You're Captain Muir, the Maelstrom. It's an honor to meet you. I was living hand to mouth in Ul'dah, but decided to enlist in the flames after I heard tales of your daring do. And now, as fate would have it, I've been sent here to join the fight for my homeland, for my homeland's liberation. This is no time to talk. I've got to prepare for the operation. Take care, Captain. I'll give those Imperial whoresons what for. That we will. That we will. Little Alamigan Brigade. Flame Officer. The Swath of Resistance finds out. If I say. If it isn't the lad who helped me find the ward I misplaced. But there I go again, treating you as if you were an equal. It wasn't until after you'd gone that one of my comrades pulled me aside and told me it was the bleeding hero of Eorzea who'd taken time out of his busy day to help me. Well, what's done is done. But know that I will fight with every ounce of my strength in this coming battle, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and I say, the next one after that. Mayhap I will serve to repay the favor. Fare you well. I say. Just his catchphrase. He just runs into the enemy and he's like, I say, you die here today. Fen, am I right? I doubt you remember me, but I'll never forget you. Saved my life in Little Alamigo, you did. Will Red and the rest of us got it into our heads that we had enough crystals. We could summon Ralga, like the Almaja, summon their gods. Thankfully, you put a stop to that. Ever heard about what happened to Wilred? Joined the Braves, and joined the Braves when they came calling, only to turn up dead one day. Never found out how or why, but I reckon it doesn't matter. Dead is dead after all. But at least he died doing what he thought was right. Maybe that's the best folks like us can hope for, eh? Not that I'm in a hurry, mind. Indeed. Not in a hurry at all. It'll just be faster to just go straight there. No teleportation. Yeah. You've had a word with the men I mentioned, then? Yep. As I'm sure you've noticed, They have another thing in common aside from tragedy. You've touched each of their lives in one way or another. But that's not the reason I wanted you to speak with them. A man who's lived in Garabania his entire life, who bore witness to the realities of this occupation for 20 unbroken years. A man who fled Alamigo in search of a new life, who swore to serve another nation, only for fate to conspire to send him back here. A youth born of foreign soil who never knew his parents' homeland, yet nevertheless felt kinship for our cause. 3 men, 3 stories, 3 reasons. It all belonged to the Resistance. In growing larger, we've grown more diverse. And while there is good in that, there's also the potential for strife and discord. It'd take a special sort to lead such men to Alamigo, don't you think? Yes, someone like Lise. I see we are one mind. She'll have taken the decision for herself, of course. You've traveled with her, been by her side when she had to make hard choices. You've seen her at her worst and her best. I think she's got a lot in her. Then, if you think she's got a lot in her, then she does. Look after her, Fen. She's our future, and my hope. I trust I needn't say that this conversation is just between you and I. Good lad. Right then. We'd best be heading to Castrum Corvi, or what remains of it, rather. Castrum Corvi. Castrum Raven. It'll be faster, just teleport. In FF14, you're gonna make so much friggin' money just from quests and traveling around that you might as well just teleport everywhere. It saves you time. Not doing that is sort of a I don't want to say a noob mistake, but it's definitely one of those things where it will make the game much longer than it needs to be by not doing that. The Hidden Truth? We don't need to go to the Hidden Truth. But why not? Let's go ahead down there, do that side quest as well. Okay, I'm curious about something. I want to test something real quick. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Oh, right. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. Believe it or not, the mount is currently faster than us sprinting, so I think jog will be even slower. Hello, Talamol. What? What are the Gallians doing here? They cannot be allowed to leave. Get them. Kill them. Kill them all. Hell yeah. Ooh, Never seen such small balls on a man before. Goodness, the smarts. Oh. Perhaps I should have devoted more time to combat training. Though no amount of training. Oh wait, this is just a blue crest. Never mind, we're good. Yes. let's speed up slightly. She's going to be our resident Blitzball player. Yes, yes, yes. Sounds good. Custom Volodnia. Or Corby, I should say. Or what remains of it. After we look at these. Ooh, some appear to be fresh. Ooh. Cloying stench of rotten debris fills your nostril. That's nasty. Nothing over there. How this usually works is stuff will just be on the outside of the circle on your map. So I'm kind of expecting some stuff to just be over here. Okay, so we have those. We don't see any more there. That means one of them is probably hidden, like, out of sight. Because they really like to do that. I mean, is it on the roof? Do I need to jump on this corpse or whatever this is? Just watch, it'll be like right in here and there's a little divot or something. Yeah. Okay. Where is this shit? Can we go inside? No. Okay, well, there's still stuff over here that we can get to inside of the circle, so maybe it's hidden over here somewhere. Ah, see? Some random bullshit. Way far away from everywhere else. House is too clean to have been abandoned for 20 years. See that? There's someone living in this derelict conditions. Now our resident librarian has been kidnapped. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, something about strange clothes. Remember the night, the 5th of November, or something like that. Oh, memories. Sweet memories. He likes memories very much.